This is a step-by-step tutorial on how to build this automatic item crafting machine in Minecraft. Remember to subscribe and check out our other videos to learn more about items, blocks, biomes, and more in this game. This automatic crafting machine is easy to use. Simply flip the lever which drops items into the water stream, which pushes those items into the hopper, which feeds the crafter, and then crafts the item and spits it into this chest. Here's how it works. When this lever is in the down position, it is constantly feeding a redstone signal through this repeater into this redstone, going into this piston here, which keeps it pushed out, not allowing the other piston to push back in the ethos hopper timer. However, when this lever is in the up position, it allows it to move back and forth freely. Every time the pistons move, the observer reads a signal from that, places it into this repeater, which then this observer picks up and throws a signal down to this line. This line splits off in two different directions. The first is going to be off to this side through this repeater, going into this redstone torch, going over this way, feeding up into the crafter. This redstone line is what causes the crafter to craft the items. On the other side of things, the signal goes through the repeater and up a torch tower until it gets to the top, activating all of the droppers. As the items are dropped into the water, they are moved over into this hopper, which feed down into the crafter, which then crafts the item and pushes it off into this hopper going into this chest. Fairly easy. Now let's get to building. To build this machine, you will need an area 4 blocks wide, 13 blocks long, and 8 blocks tall. And this is a list of the blocks that you're going to need for this build. Feel free to pause whenever needed. We're going to start this build with the orange circuit, which activates the droppers and the crafter. The first block is going to be placed on the 4th block back, 3rd block over. Now place a temporary block to the left of that one and another block on top of it, then take out the temporary block. Now moving around to the right side of the build, we're going to leave a 1 block gap and come right up to the edge and place 4 blocks. Place a temporary block on top of the last block and then another block on its side. For the redstone torch tower, go 2 blocks up, delete the temporary, go 2 blocks up, delete the temporary. Now go around to the inside of the build and place a temporary and then a block on top of it. Now place 2 blocks towards the back, then go around and place 6 blocks toward the front. Now we grab our redstone dust and place them across the 9 blocks up top, and this block over here. Grab your redstone torches and place 1 here, and 1 here. Now back to the front of the build, we place a temporary block here with a block on its face, and then delete the temporary. Place a repeater on this block facing towards the front and set that to 2 ticks. And then turn straight around and place another repeater into this block set on 2 ticks as well. Now we place redstone dust between the repeaters and also in this gap here. Place a redstone torch on this block facing towards the front, then place redstone dust on this block, and then another redstone torch on the top of this one. Now back up top on the opposite side of the torch tower, we're going to place droppers facing down. Make sure that all of them are facing down or this is not going to go the way you want it to. Now, while holding crouch, place hoppers on the side of the droppers, opposite side of where the redstone dust is. If you've been following along, it should look something like this. If it looks different, you may want to go back and try it again. Next, place a double chest on each hopper dropper set. Make sure you're holding crouch and place them on top of the hoppers, and then place them looking at the side of the chest. That'll make your double chest. For the red circuit, we move back to the front and place 1 block on top of this redstone torch. Then we go back 3 more blocks, and then towards the inside 1 block. Back around to the front, we're going to place a repeater here, leave that on 1 tick, and then place redstone dust on the rest of these blocks. Next up, place a crafter on top of this redstone torch, then place a temporary block on its face, and then right below that, place a hopper. Break your temporary block and it should look like this. Now we need to close in the front end of the crafter, making sure to leave the spot just in front of its mustache open so that it can spit items into the hopper. These can be any blocks, it does not have to be glass, I'm just using that for simplicity. But once you have it enclosed, go back around to the top of the crafter and place a hopper going down into it. Again, I'm using glass for simplicity, you can use any block, but we're going to place blocks all the way back underneath the droppers. Then back to the front and we're placing them on the bottom of the hoppers. Remember to break any and all temporary blocks. And now the same thing on the opposite side, but we do need to remember to put 1 block up right here, and then we can build this line out and remember to break that temporary block. Back to the rear of the build, we place one water source block here, and then close it off, and then break that temporary block. Now for the green circuit, we're going to place a temporary block here, another block here, here, a temporary block here with one on top of it, break the temporary blocks. Now we're going to go 3 out this way, break those 2 temporary blocks, place another temporary here with one on top of it, then move around here, place another block, break that temporary block, and now we've got the base of the ethos hopper timer set up. Now we can come down inside the build with our sticky piston and place one right here, and then we can turn around and place a temporary block with a piston there, break that, and then we go around with our redstone dust and place redstone dust here, and then over here on this block. Now grab your comparators and place one here, then turn around and place one here facing into those blocks, and then it's time for the hoppers. When you hold crouch, place one there and there, then delete that one and go back in this way. That way it looks like this. Now we need to set up the observers, but first we need to place a redstone block here, and then an observer facing out like so, and then we move down, temporary block there with an observer on that, delete that temporary block, come up here, turn around, place your repeater. Now this build should look like this. Again, if it doesn't, you might want to go back and try it again. The last step for setting up the ethos hopper timer for this particular application is to place exactly 16 items inside. Any less than 16 items in this hopper will cause the crafter to fire off way too frequently and eventually mess up the crafting recipe inside the crafter. More than 16 items will cause a longer wait time between crafted items. Next, we're going right behind this repeater on the red circuit and placing a block, and then we are going to place a lever here and turn that on to stop it, because we don't need it running while we're trying to prime the crafter and fill up the system. Now it's time to prime the crafter. If you're not familiar with the crafter, you might want to check out the card at the top right of the screen and then come back to this tutorial. Place your selected crafting recipe inside the crafter just like you would a crafting table. I'm making diamond hose because why not? Make sure you place in enough items to craft 2 of them, because this machine does craft one every time you turn it on. So if you don't put 2 in, it will mess up the system. Just make sure you do as it says and disable any slots that are not being used for your particular crafting recipe. Otherwise, when it's filling up, it will put items in places they don't belong and mess up the crafting recipe, and you'll have to go back in and fix it. Now we need to place item frames on the back of the chest so that we know what blocks go in where, so that we can get the proper crafting recipe done and right. There is 1 chest for each slot inside the crafter. I'm only using 4 slots in the crafter, so therefore I only need to use 4 chests. The rest of these chests don't need to be built in here if you're not using all of them for this particular thing. You can minus them out, just make sure you minus them out from the rear, not the front. And the reason that we have 1 chest per slot in the crafter is because it's going to be very difficult and be a lot more redstone work to get something to shoot out multiple exact amount of items. So therefore we have 1 chest per slot in the crafter. That way it fires off all of them at the same time and it fills it up just right. Now it's time to fill up these chests. Make sure you put the same exact amount of items in each chest across this build. Otherwise you could turn out with some serious problems. And it goes without saying, the closer to full that you keep these chests, the more items you'll get and the longer you'll go without problems. You will also need to place a double chest down here in front of this hopper, but I seem to have made a mistake in the tutorial and forgot to do that beforehand, so make sure you place this hopper again and make sure it's faced into the back of this chest. Now we can turn it on and see what's happening inside the crafter as it goes. Every time it fires off, we'll see 1 crafting recipe leave the crafter and another one come in soon after. This is why we need 2 sets of crafting recipes in here. Otherwise, it's going to mess everything up. Now that we have all that done, we can come down, open the chest, and watch this thing make as many items as we want. To learn more about the crafter, you might want to check out this video. I explain everything you need to know about the crafter right there. Stay safe and stay positive, and I hope to see you in the next video.